Hi, this is Kendra James, and you're listening to Tanya Tate Presents the Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
This is Tanya Tate. Skinfluencer Success. You are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success. How can you make custom content that sells? My guest went from requesting fetish clubs to shooting with photographers at mainstream adult production companies such as Kink, Penthouse, Sweetheart Video, Twisties, and more. She has carved out her own niche for shooting fetish and custom videos. Welcome, Kendra James, to the Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Kendra. Thank you for coming on and joining us. It's wonderful to see you here. It's wonderful to see your face. And I'm just so glad that you reached out to me. I messaged you, didn't I, inside the DMs the other day, and I was like, Kendra, I know that you spoke to me, and I was drastically looking everywhere. I was trying to find the DM. I was trying to find the email. I'm like, I know Kendra said she reached out to me and I couldn't find it. And it was a tweet, wasn't it? I was like, who shall I have on my podcast? And you responded back to the tweet.
Yeah, I think you posted something and I just sort of made a comment. Yeah, just said, hey, I'd love to be on. I probably should have sent you a DM instead.
Well, you know what? It didn't matter because I remembered I'd made a mental note and I thought I'm going to come back because I'd love to interview you, Kendra.
Thank you.
So here you are. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and how you got started in the industry?
So I'm Kendra James. I've been in the adult industry in some way, shape, or form since 1999. It's a long, long time. I sort of entered via fetish in the San Francisco scene when I was about 19. It started as sort of like, I need money for school. What are these extra things I can do? And finding ads in, like the back page of the local paper, like photographers looking for models, stuff like that. And I found some very like-minded people. I was kind of a little goth girl, and I was going to fetish clubs and sort of networking without really knowing it was networking, meeting different people, answering ads, things of that nature, and just kind of dove in. At the time, kink.com was just starting. I shot with them and I shot with another company that was in San Francisco at the time, shot with various photographers, and just kind of started reaching out and exploring what else was there, and realized, there are websites that will shoot me in New York or in Los Angeles. And I started traveling a bit more, generally on the fetish side of things, bondage side of things. And then I slowly sort of got into the girl aspect of it. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, I guess, kind of how things began.
I love that. It's like, sometimes it's like when you don't know what you're going to be doing, you're at school, it's like, college, you're at college. And there you are thinking, what am I going to do to support it? Because, what can you do? And it's like finding out, like looking and using, your initiative, what might you like to do? And I love it that like opportunities just present themselves, and it's like choosing those opportunities and feeling confident to go forward and take them up. And I always find that like everything that we do, it's always like a stepping stone. It's always like a journey, isn't there? And some of the companies that you shot for, I mean, it's amazing. I know that you've shot for like Penthouse, and just thinking back when you was first starting off, did you ever like think in your mind, like did you ever put it out there, think, I wonder, I'd love to shoot for Penthouse?
In the beginning, it really was like, okay, I need money for school. How can I make this money to do this thing and continue with classes and pay my rent. Like that was the focus. And I never, in the beginning, I didn't intend for it to be what's become a lifelong career. In the beginning, that was not the intention. So I didn't really think about it. It wasn't until a couple of years later, really, that I was like, you know what? I want to be in Hustler. I want to be in Penthouse. I want to, like, those were the goals. But it took me a little while to realize, like, this is what I want to do. And this is sort of the path I'm on. These are the companies that I want to work for to move forward. And then the photographers who were shooting at that time, I was like, oh my God, their work is amazing. I really want to work with them because, like, I want to be in Penthouse because, like, Holly Randall or Suze Randall is shooting it, and, like, holy cow, she's amazing. It was almost more like, I want to work with this photographer for this publication because their work is beautiful. Not even, like, of course the publication, but not necessarily solely because of that.
So in terms of, like, I love that it's like looking at focusing in on, like, the photographer that you appreciate their work, and it's like, and then, you know, they're in Penthouse, they're in Hustler. How did you get that step to sitting down and, like, you know, I remember years ago looking through the magazines, and you're like, ooh, looking through all the men's magazines. And then you, like, at one point you sit there and you're picturing yourself, like, you picture yourself being that person in that magazine. And it's a big journey, isn't it? It's like, how did I get from sitting there looking at the magazine in my house many years ago to now I am that girl in that magazine?
Right.
It's amazing because you're picturing it in your head and you're visualizing it, and suddenly you're there, you're that person. So was it the opportunities? You've got the vision, you see the photographers. Did you proactively seek out those photographers?
I did. I think because I have tended to be a little more niche in the work I've done, like I said, you know, fetish content and girl, it's maybe not as visible as more of the mainstream stuff. So I had to actively, and I've never had an agent, so I actively went after these things. I actively emailed Penthouse, emailed Hustler, emailed the photographers. I was on them, and every time I'd be in LA, I'd be like, hey, I'm back. I'd really love to shoot with you. Hey, can I get on the calendar? Hey, what's the schedule like? I pushed for it. I was my own advocate.
And a lot of people that come into the industry, if they want to do, you know, we call it like mainstream adult work. If you want to shoot with, like, the mainstream photographers or the mainstream adult companies, a lot of people, you have to have an agent that is there that's being like, hey, these are our top girls at the moment. This is our top talent. These are our top guys. These are the people that you want to shoot. So I think sometimes for the agents, they can present their top people, or a lot of the photographers or the media companies, the production companies will go on to each individual website, and they will look and they will search, and you know, now it still happens. That's the way it works now. But something that we both had in common, I started off with an agent for about 1 year, maybe, I don't even know. And then it was, no, we parted ways. And I had to go after that work. I had to be proactive. And I hear about, like, some of the talent, they go, oh, I've got an agent, they don't work for me. And I'm like, well, what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing for yourself? The jobs aren't just going to come to you just because some agents are just being like, waiting for that phone to ring. But it's like, that is a challenge, isn't it? To be out there and be persistent without... How do you be persistent without being overbearing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, because I don't live, at this point now I live in Miami, so I travel back to LA. So I have to put myself out there no matter what. Like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Hey, do you want to shoot? Like, I'm traveling. These are my dates. I have to put myself in people's faces and say, hi, I'm here. Because when you don't live in Los Angeles or Las Vegas, which still is where the bulk of the work is.
Yeah.
I feel like people forget. I call it a gentle reminder. And I'm not gonna message people every day or even every week, but if I know I'm going to be traveling, then like, hey, I'm here. I'm still here, guys. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? But yeah, it's just a gentle reminder. And people get so busy. Companies are overwhelmed with things. Photographers are overwhelmed with things. So I don't necessarily feel bad saying like, hi, like, you know,
It's those gentle prompts, isn't it? It's by taking those opportunities and by giving the reminders and cultivating relationships. You've got to cultivate the relationship with the directors, with the people that are in charge of the production companies, be on the same wavelength as them, be professional and just put it out there. I know that, you travel in, you get booked and then you leave and then there's going to be a future date and you're going to be coming back. And testament to yourself is that when you come back, those directors are looking to come back and shoot you again because it's, your worth ethic. It's
right.
really important, to get onto a set and be professional and do your job and make an amazing experience for everybody on that set.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like in a lot of instances, I've been hired time and time again because I really try and I like to try and be on time, do my job, be pleasant to work with, but try and make it easy for everybody else. And I may not be like the prettiest performer, the best performer, but that overall sort of experience of like showing up, doing your job, being professional, being easy to work with, friendly with people, because there's no reason to come in and be like nasty or rude or cold. But yeah, I feel like I've been hired over and over again because of these things.
Yeah. And never say you're not the prettiest performer. It's like, no, you'd never say I am not the best. You know what, Kendra? You are beautiful and you do an amazing job.
And I don't mean to, I definitely don't mean to self-deprecate, but there are many, many beautiful people. There are like exceptionally beautiful people out there. And you can be the most beautiful, but if you're hard to work with, maybe they hire somebody who's friendlier, So that's all me. I don't mean to self-deprecate.
I was making sure. I'm like, Kendra, no, you're beautiful. You know what? I have to admit though, I have worked with other beautiful women. And you're right, not everybody's beautiful inside, For something like that, I would think that me and you would be able to do with that kind of scene is to still make that scene amazing. And, I worked with a girl and everyone thinks she's amazing. And that scene, I literally, it was for Girlfriends Films. And Girlfriends Films, you shot for Girlfriends Films. It's very sweet. It's very smooth. It's kind of romantic. It's, it's not kind of like Evil Angel.
Right.
Right. And it felt like there was a Girlfriends Films performer, me, and an Evil Angel performer, the other girl. And I'm just like, this is so wrong. It was literally getting that girl, literally, to like, hey, stop pushing me. Stop pushing me. And, we turned it around. And I have to say, in that circumstance, the fans loved the scene. But for me, it was a really strange scene because it was just like this angry chemistry. I was just like... And the overall director loved the scene and the crew were like, what was going on? The vibe was so wrong. But you know what? It's like coming in and doing it and just making like an amazing job of it. The end product looks amazing. But I know that they would continue to have me back, Apart from the fans, if the fans don't like you, you're not coming back, So get the fans on your side and then do a good job and give them a good product and, they're going to get you to keep coming back. Kendra, I want to ask you, you've done a lot of work for the production companies, but you also are a massive, you have your own stores, your own clip stores, and like this is where you excel. So talk to me about, let's go right back to the beginning. Where did you start with the clip stores, and how did you kind of start choosing and start getting on that ladder of building up your content of library, your personal library?
I mean, it's been a journey. 2005 or 2006, I opened my own website, and the vision I had for my website was that I wanted it to be very beautiful, glamour, like high-end fetish, latex, girl, bondage, like beautiful images, great production, all of these things. That's the image I had, right? And I had worked with, at the time, Fetish Nation was big, and I'd worked for them a bunch, and they were friends of mine, and I loved the way they shot. And then Bondage Cafe, which is very like glamour bondage, like the wardrobe, the aesthetic, the whole thing about it, like it's just very pretty. These are things I was trying to emulate. And there's a lot of time and money that goes into shooting something like that. And I didn't quite realize exactly how much time and work went into making it so beautiful, like consistently beautiful, glamorous, always feeding the beast, always like having that type of content to update with. So things shifted a little bit, as they do. You always change and evolve. And I started exploring other fetishes and sort of ways of shooting, and I started doing more trade content with other performers. Then, of course, the clip platforms came about. Clips for Sale was the big one. They started in like 2003 or whatever. So they were sort of the driving force at the beginning behind the clip platform phenomenon, I would say. That was like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like getting on Clips for Sale, it was like, holy cow, there's all these things I never even thought of before. There's a yawning fetish, and there's foot fetish, and there's femdom, and there's POV. What's POV? I'm literally sitting there talking to the camera as if it's a person. Like I was familiar with femdom. I had done this for many years, but like the sitting and talking to the camera, telling a story to the camera as though you're talking intimately with a person, like that was new, but it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
I would say based on the clip platforms, I started to adjust what I was shooting and how I was shooting it, and sort of taking different ideas from what other performers were doing, what other producers were doing. I started sort of implementing these into my own work, and just sort of trying different things, trying like different ways of shooting, different genres, all of that sort of stuff. And then I stumbled onto cosplay, and I'm someone who loves to dress up. I always have been, like since I was a kid. Like dressing up is fun.
Yeah.
You want to dress up and like pretend to be somebody else. You want to dress up and be Catwoman or Jessica Rabbit, whatever. I'm into it. So in 2010, I started shooting cosplay and superhero stuff for myself. And that kind of took off for me. That sort of became what sold and what I was good at, what I enjoyed doing the most was like the superhero and cosplay sort of content. And yeah, I've kind of been running with that since. Always trying new things though, because like I said, it's always an evolution, and you can't commit, or at least I can't commit myself to one type of work, one genre, whatever. I think there's a trend.
Yeah.
Things kind of come and go, and something will be really popular for a while. And like the taboo stuff, holy cow, it's so popular, right? But at some point that'll sort of, that'll not disappear, but maybe become less popular, and something else will take its place. So there's always a shift, and I try and pay attention to what those shifts might be, and like implement things here and there as I see it. I don't know.
I think for you, and when I looked, I see like a glamorous, and it's like a lot of bondage, and then I love that I could see like the superheroes, kind of being tied up. And this is great, isn't it? Because it's like when you are doing something, when you work in a job, because this is a job that we do, and it's, for us, we're the brand, and the fans want to see what we're about. Like, they want to see the content, they want to, they have certain specific things that they like, so they'll go towards that. Okay, well, I'm going to click on there, I'm going to go into this store because this one, the lady, she looks beautiful, she looks like someone I'd like to go and look at. And then once they kind of start to get to know you a bit more, then they want to see you as well coming through, as well as the content, as well as if it's a JOI, well, you want the personality to come through, you want to get to know that person more. And I love it, the fact that, you love cosplay, you love dressing up, and it's like you've brought that in and bringing in something that is you, that's personal, and then building it and then intertwining it into your brand to enhance, Kendra James brand is now even, bigger and better because you're putting in your personal touch to it. I did do some of the I did do a lot a lot of the comic conventions, and it definitely was a lot of fun. And I didn't do as much stuff as definitely did not do as much stuff as you with the dressing up stuff. But I think for a lot of my fans, some of them wanted like the like the tied up girl in the superhero, the villain's gonna come and tie them up. And for me, it's like, I love certain things, but I'm not good at being tied up.
Yeah.
Like, and then I look at some of your stuff and I see, and I'm like, okay, that's really hot. It's like, like the latex or the lycra, it's like the shiny and the cat suits, and it looks really amazing. And I think that's definitely helped build your brand and made you're established, but it's something that people will recognize. And it's like, hey, we want to go and see some clips with some cosplay, and it's like they can think about you and go and find you. So we're talking about, you're talking about some of the production companies. It was glamorous and you wanted to try and emulate that, but then you realize glam can take time, can take money. So talk to me about some of the things that you've done to still, you're working on these fetish clips and the things that you like to do. So tell me like some of the things that you've been able to do, making it look like an amazing production, but still not keeping the cost so high.
My partner and I learned how to build sets on the cheap. I mean, we oh my gosh, like I've turned my living room into a dungeon. I've turned my dining room into a spaceship, like going to Home Depot and trying to figure out, like, can we get like silver insulation and light it right so that it looks, like the inside of a spaceship, or just trying to sort of build things ourselves, and then learning lighting and making, I'd say is I feel very red in the lighting I have here, like learning lighting a little bit so that people look pretty, so that I look good, the performers I hire look good. But really sort of trying to learn every aspect so that we can sort of DIY it. I almost never present myself without makeup on. Like, to me, makeup is like a huge part of it. I want to feel pretty. I want to look pretty. I want to present myself in a very particular way. So for me, that's also like part of the glamour and sort of getting into the headspace of shooting. So yeah, you'll very rarely see me without makeup if I'm on camera. But I really tried to learn all of these aspects to be able to implement them myself and not have to spend so much money like hiring a lighting person or renting a location. And don't get me wrong, I have rented locations. I'm really, really fortunate that I have very good friends with very beautiful spaces that have let me use them at a discounted rate.
Yeah.
that's another big thing is like, yeah, being able to find that location that a friend might have and like making it a mutually beneficial sort of situation.
Yeah. It's just finding little ways, isn't it, to try and bring the value of a production, because you are like a mini production. And that's great that you have been, picking up different skills. I'm assuming that you edit your own videos. So that's a skill in itself, the light and the sets, the recording. I mean, even now for us, like you said about, having makeup on all the time. And for me, when I was shooting for the main production companies, you always had makeup on, and it was very rare that anyone ever saw you without your makeup on, unless it was like some behind the scenes and there was a little camera guy and he was going around while you were in the middle of doing your makeup. But you really never ever was online without makeup on. And like now, since like it become OnlyFans and more of the candid style pictures, and a lot of the fans, they love that now. And they love the makeup and they love the natural. And for me, I'm super short of time.
Right. Right.
And it's so hard, I'm a mum. We all have a lot of different things that we have to do in our day, because that's, we're always building towards the fans. And it's like getting the makeup on, and today I've put it on. I took the time, Kendra, to do the makeup. And you really do. You feel prettier with the makeup on, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just puts me in a particular headspace, I guess. Yeah. Like I put makeup on today. I didn't go crazy, but yeah, it's just, you want to be viewed in a certain way. At least I do. And, it helps get you in. It helps get me into the Kendra James headspace. Let's say that.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
I want to talk to you about, I saw on your website that you do customs, and I'm going to talk to you about the customs, but I want to talk to you about supporting other content creators. And I just looked at it and I thought, you know what, I love this. You had other people on your custom page. So talk to me about how you support other content creators.
I do customs, and I want to appeal to a wide variety of fans. And I have my fans. I have the people who want to see me, but I have people who want to see me shoot with other people, or they want to see this other performer by herself and they can't. Like maybe she doesn't do custom videos, but she works for other companies or whatever it is. I want to shoot videos. So whether that means by myself or girl with another person or another performer solo, like that's what I enjoy doing. If I have the means to hire somebody, I absolutely will. I'm happy to pay a performer to come and shoot. I'm happy and I do hire people outside of custom videos. I'm happy to do trade, but I like getting the content that I want to get. And if I have a storyline that I'd like to do, if I have a particular script, I'd rather just hire somebody as opposed to like try and negotiate trade and like, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? I'd rather just like have a script, pay you for your time, and like call it a day. And then advertising that person. If I want to work with them, I advertise them for customs, and maybe that gives them more visibility.
Yeah.
Maybe that introduces them to a fan base they didn't already have.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important to support each other and, to be there for each other. Like when I started, I felt like people were really secretive and very guarded about what they were doing and the information that they wanted to give out. Like when I was building my website, I built it myself. And I'm like writing the code and I'm trying to figure things out. And I'm asking people for help. And they're so guarded about what they were doing or what they were shooting, how they were shooting. Like I'd ask people for help lighting and they didn't want to give the information, So over time, and like just trying to figure things out myself. I'm like, you know what? Why is everyone so guarded? If you come to me with a question, if I have the answer, I'll share the answer with you. Like, I think it's important to support each other, and I think it's important to help each other out and answer the questions that, we may have the information for. And again, like, if I have the means to hire somebody, then like, I'm happy to hire them too. Like, I think it all kind of comes around, like, whatever you put out there, you'll eventually get back. So I don't know.
It does. It's like karma, isn't it? It's like you helping someone and, putting the hand out there. And even just as simple as what you just said, then, you're going to shoot someone and you're going to shoot together. And it's like putting that other person, just giving them a little shout out on your social media. So you like cross referencing each other. So, your fans see them and their fans see you. And it really does help, builds the community.
Yeah.
Just putting that support out there, for everyone.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
So you really have done like a lot of different clips, a lot of different fetishes. But how do you determine what your boundaries are? And how, I'm conscious that people are going to be listening and other content creators and they're going to be like, this might be amazing. And this search term's coming up. These are the top 10 search terms. Or they might go and shoot for a production company and they're like, okay, this is what we want you to do today. For someone that's listening, how did you know your personal boundaries, and what would you say to other people about finding out what their personal boundaries are?
It's tricky because I think my boundaries have changed over time. And I was also fortunate to grow up in a very liberal environment, I suppose. So like I did a lot of experimenting as a teenager and growing up in San Francisco, like I guess growing up in a large city, you're exposed to a multitude of things and a multitude of people, and you have more options than you would growing up in a more rural area or in a sheltered environment. So I did a lot of experimenting, already felt sort of aware of my sexuality by the time I entered adult, and I entered in a space that was comfortable to me. Like at the time, fetish was sort of my safe zone.
Yeah.
And like I was already aware of this from like being in the lifestyle or whatever. So fetish was my safe zone. And then I got to sort of play with things I was curious about based on the companies that I like working with kink. There was a lot of things I did for kink that I was like, yeah, I'm not into it. And then there were other things that I was like, oh, this is okay. I didn't know I was into that, but now I'm aware that I'm into it.
Yeah. But
it always felt like a safe, even if I didn't like something, it felt like a safe environment to experiment or say no. I think I'm fortunate in that aspect that I was able to sort of play with things and experience things in a safe way, and also in my personal life. And as I've gotten older, there are things that I don't do anymore that I'm just like, you know what? This is not the headspace I'm in. These are not things I enjoy. But boundaries are just so personal. Like I don't do boy girl. And for me, like it's just not something that ever appealed to me to do on camera. I couldn't tell you exactly why, but it's just, it just wasn't, I don't know why. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do on film. So it's not something I've ever done. And I'm really okay with that.
Did your friends, like, you're known, you solo, you fetish, you girls. Did your fans at any time, like, do they ever push you, because other content creators might be listening, or people that might be wanting to get into the industry, and they might be like thinking, well, do I have to do this? Do I have to do boy girl? Do I have to do this really tie me up scene, this bondage scene? Do I have to do it? And for someone like me and you sitting here now, we know you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But I think it will be hard for some people. There will be a lot of pressure. There'll be a lot of talk in their ears saying, no, you have to do this for your career?
Oh, yeah. I definitely had people, lots and lots of people tell me, well, you're not going to stay in this industry if you don't do boy girl. If you don't do this, then no one will find you and, your career is going to be done. So my answer to that basically was to start my own website and to start shooting my own content. I do think there's a lot of pressure to do boy girl or to do certain things within the industry. You don't have to do anything. And when I do work with new girls, I hired this girl a couple of years ago. I hired this girl for an underwater lesbian scene for a custom video. And she was relatively new. She was a couple of months in. The fan ordering the custom had requested her, but I was driving her back to where she was staying at the end of the day. I think she was in from out, I don't know. But anyway, I was giving her a ride home, and she was like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I want to go full steam, like facial abuse and DP and this and this and this. And I was just like, girl, you're 2 months in. Like, don't blow your load in the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, some time and like figure out like which direction you want to go in, and let people look forward to seeing you in a scene like that instead of like giving it to them all at once. And I don't know if that's the right advice or not, but to me, it makes sense. Like, you don't dive head first and not really know which direction it's going to take you. And she was in the industry for maybe a year, and that was it. She was beautiful and she was a great performer. Like, the underwater scene looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she got burnt out or kind of used up or whatever. But a year in.
That is some really good advice, though, isn't it? It's like, there are like a lot of things that you can do, and there's a lot of different levels and a lot of different steps that we can go to. But my advice would have been exactly the same as yours, Kendra. It would have been, one step at a time. Take it slow. I have a friend, and was doing solo, and then someone wanted her to do like boy girl for their OnlyFans as a trade. And I'm like, but you've not really got a big account on OnlyFans. You're brand new. You've not even done girl. And my advice would be to build up your fan base. Get it more built up, get more fans, you want to get them all excited. Because here's the thing, people always ask me for the big A. And I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do it. Maybe not. Ask me, depends what day it is. But it's like they always want something. And for me, I did do boy girl for a long time, and then I stopped and I just did girl. And then I had a baby, and then I come back, so then it was solo, and then we started with girl. And the guys were like, boy girl. So you give them boy girl, and then next minute they go back to and then we want A, and I'm just like, hold on, you wanted boy girl. Did you actually watch it? Did you actually go into my OnlyFans? Did you actually buy it? And I know they're just looking at the clip, like the free clip that I'm giving them on Twitter. And it's like, but okay, so if you want to support me, you want me to make more content, show your support by buying the clip, by unlocking it, by joining up to my OnlyFans, by going on to my Sex Panther. They always want something that that you're not given right now. And I think a lot of people, when they first come into the industry, they don't realize that that's what's going to happen. You give them this much, and you give it to them, and then they want this much.
Really? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've just got to know, where you want your levels to be, and just not from two very experienced women, successful women. That is what we were both saying.
I think it's also the fantasy of something is better than the reality.
Yeah.
So you might like the idea of doing something on video, and then you try it and you're like, you know what? that's not for me. That really was not where I wanted to go with this. I thought I wanted to go there, but turns out I didn't want to go there. So, sometimes it's trial and error and just sort of figuring it out by experience.
Yeah. So when it comes to your stores and your clip stores, I know you mentioned like clips for sale. That was the first one that you kind of started off on. So I'm going to tell you, I went on your clips for sale and I was clicking and I was like, you give me all your links. So I started clicking on your links because I'm like, I'm just going to have a little look around, and I'm like, holy, have you got 3 clip stores on clips for sale? And I was like, so you have all these clips, and, I want to talk to you a little bit more about, how you handle your clips, how you decide where to put them, what is your strategy when it comes to why do you have 3 different stores, and how do how do you manage everything?
I have my female domination store, and I have my general sort of fetish store, which is actually the one that I started with. And then I have my cosplay and superhero store. And the logic behind having 3 different stores was that they're different fans. Like, the guys who want to see me tied up are not necessarily the same guys that want to see me tying up a guy. They're not necessarily the same people who enjoy female domination. So, and then the cosplay people, they might go either way, but I feel like people who are into cosplay, superheroine, have a more specific fetish. They want to see the costumes and all that. So I tried to sort of separate by genre. Like I said, the fetish store was the first one I opened, and it's kind of a catch-all. At this point, it's kind of a catch-all for a lot of things. I put like lesbian foot fetish in there, but I also put bondage videos in there. Technically, I suppose I could separate it and categorize it even more. But the idea between the 3 was that those fans could go to that place and easily find what they were looking for, instead of digging through pages and pages and like, nope, I don't want to see that. Nope, I don't want to see that. Like, having to hunt.
Yeah.
To prevent people from having to hunt for like one specific thing that they were looking for. My website is kind of everything. My membership site is kind of everything, but I do have a page on my website where you can go and click on the categories.
Right.
So it does make it a little easier. But yeah, as far as the clip stores go, it's like, let's try and make it easy for people.
Just kind
so
of
when I
fine tuning it so that when the fans come on, it's what part of Kendra James that you want, and you can kind of land on that, and just to make it easier to hand it to them more on a plate than.
Yeah. People don't want to search. My logic is that people don't really want to search. They don't want to dig for what they're looking for. They just want to go and find it.
Yeah.
Like, here's this place that I can click on and find what I want. And I did at one point have 2 different Twitter accounts. However, Twitter did delete me a year ago. So I had to create a new account. But at one point I had like my Mistress Kendra Twitter account, and that's where I posted everything femdom. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
So it was like, if you want femdom, here you go. Like, that's where you find it. And all the links associated with that account were like female domination oriented. But yeah, when I do a shoot day, I try and break it down. Like, I want to do 2 videos in this category, 2 videos in this category, and 2 videos in this category, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I try and make a list of what I intend to shoot on my filming days, so that I can sort of roll into it. I pull out costumes or wardrobe or whatever, like the day before. I have things laid out. So it's easier to get through the day, especially if I'm shooting with somebody else. It's just easier to have things laid out, have a list of what I want to do, and be able to go through it.
Yeah. That's a good idea. It's like, you want to know what you're going to be shooting ahead of time. So get it written down, think of the ideas. Do you ever like do polls and kind of ask your fans, or are you basing it on kind of what is being selling for you?
I pay attention to what's selling the most, but if I'm not real sure about something, or if I'm like, yeah, well, this is selling, but I don't feel like doing this today, or I want to try something else, I'll do polls. I'll put it out there on Twitter, or I'll do a poll on my OnlyFans, like, what do you want to see? X, Y, and Z. Like, of these things, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's more confusing, because inevitably you'll get people who are like, well, I want to see this one very niche
And
thing
you're like,
that only I want
custom.
to see.
That's it, custom.
Okay, well, you can submit a script and order a custom then.
You're like,
You know,
yeah, it's hard,
yeah.
isn't it? Because you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, but I've got to be able to resell it easily. I think for the very specific customs, like, I mean, I've been asked for stuff to do with my nose, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not really going to sell another video of the camera being up there and that angle. And, like, my fans don't really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes it's like really specific. You're like, okay, you've got an outlet for it. If you want it, you can. If you want Kendra James doing this for you, this is what you have to do. It's like, oh my goodness. For you, how do you think that you've evolved from, when you first started off in the fetish clubs to now being this amazing content creator, very successful? How have you personally evolved?
I mean, no matter what, there's a huge evolution between 19 and 40 something.
40 something, we don't need to say.
There's a huge evolution that happens, and self-awareness that comes about. And I feel like people really, the general public sort of poo-poos adult performers and people in the adult industry, and likes to spin them. Often the media likes to spin adult as sort of being very damaged people. And I would say that personally, I feel like I'm much more self-aware than a lot of sort of vanilla, or, people, my friends who are not in the adult industry. I feel like I have a little more self-awareness that's come over time working an adult, not just working an adult, but running my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And having to really pay attention to finances, budget, where money is being allocated, being very conscious of savings and retirement, because, well, I don't have a company creating a 401k for me.
We've got to do it ourselves.
Yeah. So I definitely have had like a huge financial evolution in realizing that over time. Of course, I didn't think about it when I was 25. And then you start realizing, like, oh, maybe I need to put money away. Maybe I need to invest. So there is like a huge financial evolution, I think. And then, yeah, just sort of the self-awareness and being able to set boundaries, being conscious of boundaries in my personal life, just in personal relationships. I feel like I'm very comfortable telling people no, or telling people that I'm not comfortable with certain things. Whereas, the other friends I have my own age still don't realize these boundaries. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we're always evolving, right? Things are always changing, and that's the nature of life.
I see you as a very self-confident, self-starter, self-empowered woman. And that is what I see when I see you. And it's, from coming from that 20-odd-year-old to now, 20 years later, we're in our 40s. And it is, I think, confidence and knowing what you want and what you desire, it definitely comes with age. And, you know, you got to have really good business ethics to still be in this industry, you know, 20 years later, still making the money, still making those clips, and still having that connection with the fans. And I think you've got that, Kendra.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you, Kendra, what advice would you give to someone that might be thinking about starting their own, you know, clip store and starting to explore fetishes to make a business from it? What advice would you give to them?
Don't get easily deterred. It's work. It's definitely work. Be consistent. You have to update regularly. You have to update, you know, on a regular schedule, and yeah, just be consistent in everything that you do, in your updates, your social media, advertising, and try. Like you have to try, and you have to move forward. Don't think that you're going to make a boatload of money overnight. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
It's not for most people, but yeah, you really have to carve out what you want to do and be diligent in moving forward with it. And don't get frustrated. If you're going to start your own business, start your own clip store, your own website, put that content out there, just, you know, work for it and be consistent with it, and have determination, and don't get frustrated, because I feel like frustration leads to defeat. And, you know, there's so much that you can do if you don't allow yourself to be defeated, if that makes sense.
Stay positive, keep moving forward, stay focused, and know that you will get there. So thank you, Kendra James. It's been so amazing, so lovely having you talk to us and sharing your story. So can you tell everybody where they can find you online?
Of course. So you can find me in a multitude of places. KendraJames.com, KendraClips.com, FetishGirlfriend.com, GoddessKendra.com, IWantKendra.com, or you can go to ClickKendra.com, and that will take you to every link. Oh, one-stop shop. There you go. ClickKendra.com is probably the easiest.
Yeah, that sounds like much easier. ClickKendra.com. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the Skinfluencer Success Podcast. It's been amazing to have you on. Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to be here.
Thank you.
This is Tanya Tate. Skinfluencer Success.